Start recording. Okay, so this is a demo of the Aries cloud agent, specifically how you can write your own protocols for a cloud agent.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is just a repo that you can download from, the Aca-Py repo.
Yeah, I have the repo. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, so there's the Aca-Py repo, and then really is this folder, which is the cloud agent. That's like all the code which runs your agent. And these agents, so this code really here is the same thing that you can like just go pip install Aries, right? That installs all this code and just like abstracts that away. But like and so for a lot of examples, you actually don't need to edit the code at all. You don't need to write anything in. It's got a set of defined protocols. And if you go to the Aries RFCs, you can see many of the protocols that this cloud agent implements. And so all these protocols live in here. And so you can see these are the ones who got like issue credential, send a basic message, connections. So there's a set of protocols, and the thing that you need to think about when you're thinking about agents, for me, is an agent is something that is the main function of an agent is to send messages to other agents, right? All these protocols are just a series of messages sent between agents. So a protocol is a set of messages that get communicated across that cause agents to do things. And then the other thing.
So we have to define our own protocol. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, so you can define your own protocol, which is just teaching your agent how to react to different messages, basically.
And
then the other thing is you have this agent and it knows how to send messages to complete these protocols, but you need a controller. The controller is the thing that tells the agent to send a message. Right. So it knows how to do this. But it doesn't know when to do it or what,
when to do it.
Or how to react if it receives one of these, if someone else sends a message to it. And that's kind of like the higher up the stack. That's the controller level, which typically an application developer would implement some business logic to say, I've received this message, do X.
For sure.
So, I mean, definitely, just going through the course will kind of teach you all of that stuff. What I've been trying to think about for a while and like dig into is, okay, great. How do we write our own protocols? And I recently
So we'll have to write our own protocol and a controller to teach it how to react, right? We'll be coding up both.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be later down the line. But so for now, it's just, I was just interested to see, can I write my own? And I've managed to be able to do it.
Awesome.
I had a demo from someone. This is basically just me repeating that demo. So, the easiest protocol to look at is probably basic message because it's simple. So you see basic message is like the name of the protocol, and then you have to include this file called definition. And all this definition file is doing is just defining the version of your protocol. And then you see here, you have this folder V01, which matches the path. And the reason that is so that you in the future you could create a version 2 of the protocol, and your agent would still be backward compatible. So it can understand the old version as well. And then you have this init, which is just a Python thing, just Python module. And then inside version 1, so the first thing that you should define when you're creating a protocol is your message types. So these are this is how your agent will recognize a message that gets sent to it, or a message that it's going to send is the message types. So you have your protocol URI, which just is like, it kind of is where the specification of the messages lives. So defining exactly what this message should be like, I think. And then, you're just putting a URL, which is basically just something to uniquely identify this message as opposed to other messages.
Fine.
And then this bit is maybe a little bit confusing, but it's basically because DIDCOM recently became a standard in diff. At least I think this is why this is. So, in the future, all messages will be through this didcom URI, you know, and the specifications will live at didcom.org rather than sovereign. So, I mean, you can kind of ignore that. This is just a repeated definition of what the message is. This is interesting, protocol package. So the protocol package is actually specifying the folder, you know, in Python where your protocol lives.
Okay, fine. So this is not a protocol. So what is this
kind
then?
of like setting up, like, you know, like configuring what the protocol needs to get started.
Okay.
So here, you know, like this package is like Aries Cloud Agent, protocols, basic message, v01, right? It's just telling it where it is. And then you define this thing called message types, which is like all the message types for this protocol. Okay, so that's just like configuring, you know, so your agent knows how to understand things. And then you typically define two things. So, you know, a protocol is made up of messages that get sent to other agents, right? And so, you know, you need to know what are the messages that this protocol is sending, but then also you need to define handlers. And handlers are, okay, if I receive one of these messages from somebody else, how do I react to that? So,
for sure.
That's the two things. So we start with, you know, defining your message. So in here, again, you know, here this is saying the handler class. So for this message, if I receive it, where's the code that I handle it for? Right. And again, protocol package, which we defined in here. And then dot handler here, you know, dot basic message, you know, that's the file. And then this is the class.
Class. Okay.
Okay. So so we have this basic message. So all messages will extend this like agent message, which is just like a core thing that's implemented in the code. You know, it's like the base class.
Okay. Yeah.
You define some meta information about your class. So you know, the message type, which is what we defined in this types folder, and then the handler class, which is here, right? So all messages need to have a handler class and need to have a type. And then the other thing that you define is this schema class. And the schema class, at least in this Aca-Py implementation, uses Marshmallow. And basically all it's doing is just like you define a schema for your database, this is defining a schema for your message. So what field do my message contain? So you can see here, this basic message contains sent time, you know, and it's not required.
This is it was in the in the RSC as well, right? It has the time and the content.
And then the content was just basic. So you define your schema type, and then here this init is just, okay, great, how do I create one of these basic messages? You know, you pass in self, and then you pass in the sent time, and you pass in the content. And then I think this localization is just what language is it in. So you can kind of ignore that.
Yeah, fine. Okay.
Yeah, and then just some more logic about how you create, you know, how you actually populate this stuff. So like, this is the things that you pass in. This is the function that actually does it. Okay, so that's the message. Very simple, really. Like once I had it explained to me, I was like, oh, actually, it's not really Okay, and then you go on to the handler. So this is, you know, when my agent receives one of these basic messages, and it knows it's received it because it's got a message type. How do I handle that? You know, how do I handle it? So basically, you know, again, basic message handler will extend this base class base handler, which just like, you know, defines a lot of the core functionality which all handlers need to have. We don't need to know and then you define this function, async def handle, you know, and it passes in itself, the context, and the responder. So I'm pretty sure the context, I haven't dug too deep into this, but the context is how you can bring in things like the wallet, you know, and like start using some of the cryptography and maybe accessing some of the credentials. So, I mean, for, you know, just sending messages like a machine learning message, we don't care about, I don't think we need to care about that too much. The other thing that's interesting is the responder. So the responder is used to send webhooks. So the responder can be used for the agent to tell the controller, hey, I just received this message. So the agent basically says, just fires off an event and says, look, I've received a message. So this is example, responder.send webhook. And then it's up to the implementer of the controller to say, oh, I'm listening for this webhook. And when I get this webhook, I need to do whatever the business logic is to.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is kind of.
So the responder sends it. Mm-hmm. The controller receives it and decides what to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and there's just some logger, So I mean, that is essentially all of it. There's some more stuff here. So I think you could define some code which says, okay, responder send reply, right? So the sending reply is saying, actually don't tell my control. I don't need to go up to the controller to tell me what to do. The agent already knows how to respond to these messages.
Yeah.
It's so send reply is just sending a message back to the agent that sent it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Cool. So I mean that's all the code that that's most of the code. There's one other thing to think, which is this roots folder. So roots is roots is how you define the Swagger interface, or the API by which you, the controller, can tell your agent to send a message or to invoke this protocol.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, it's just defining a HTTP request. Connection send message as a request, and then it registers this as a root, right? At connection ID send message. Right, and then when that root is added, it fires this function which we define up here, which is saying, okay, we've got this request, we retrieve the connection as long as we found it. If the connection is ready, so that I think that means if the connection has been accepted, then we send this message.
Send the message. Yeah. Cool.
So that is it in its entirety. I just want to point out that there's another cool thing which we'll go into in a sec. But this is the Swagger interface, which is the API by which you tell your agent to do things, and this is that route that we just defined. Okay.
Yeah. There's a tutorial to do this, I think. I can't remember where. It's somewhere. I think I saw a tutorial.
Cool.
To set up the Swagger, how you want it to be. It's for you to understand the protocol. I think I saw it somewhere. I can't remember where.
But well, the link that I put in the Slack channel actually is a protocol just for, because the Swagger interface is, you can be the controller by invoking these Swagger, you can hit these functions.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
So
I'll look into that link as well, for sure.
So the only other thing is, I've just created an example. I've basically, here's exactly the same thing. You create your definition, you've got your V1, you define your message type. You can call them whatever you want. It just needs to be unique. You set you say where it is.
Say where it is. Yeah.
Cool. You have your routes. And then define the messages. Right, and again, the messages. You can put. So these fields can be anything that you like. That's kind of, it's a schema. You just define them however complex or complex that you like, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I haven't gone too deep into that. But, and then the other thing to think is, you don't just have to have one message. A protocol can be a series of messages that get sent back and forth. And then I haven't gone too deep into the other protocols, which it's on my list of things to do. But I think how they manage this. So, an agent sends a message, just kick off, start the protocol. And then if another agent replies, the state of that protocol gets upgraded. So you're kind of going, stage 1 of the protocol, stage 2 of the protocol. And it's all it is at its simplest level is a series of messages getting sent back and forth.
Yeah.
And when you're defining a protocol, all you're doing is defining those messages and how they should be handled by the agent.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Like I've created this, and so one way to create a protocol is just to do it in this protocols folder. You have your protocols folder, and you can just create a new folder. And when you start your agent, so you start your agent like this, Aca-Py start. This is some information like out.
The port numbers, I think.
Yeah, it's just the ports. But then the key thing is, you need to add this admin in. So this admin is this Swagger interface basically. So the admin Swagger interface port 5000, which is here.
So you have the Swagger interface is built into the Cloud Agent.
Yeah.
Okay,
awesome.
So
you start it up by putting in that flag --admin. You're starting up the Swagger interface.
Awesome. Okay.
And you can see, so like I have protocol. This is the thing that I've.
Yeah, this is what you did. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can see, okay, if I want to try it out, I put in the connection ID and I fill in this example field, right? Like.
Okay.
And if I had created a connection, I could put that connection ID in and send this message.
Yeah.
And the other agent would respond to it, right? It would handle it. It would invoke the handler that you defined and do whatever functionality that it wants to do.
Awesome. Yeah.
So the other cool thing that I just want to touch on, which I haven't quite got working yet, but is really cool because really, this is fine. This is a good way to do this. You define your protocols like this and you put them in here, but ideally we don't want to be editing this Aries Cloud Agent Python code because this is the BC Gov's Aca-Py implementation. It's quite nice for us to be able to, if they're making changes, we want to be able to pull those changes into our code without having to worry about making changes in this code base. So the way that you do this is there's this concept called a plugin.
Yeah.
Ideally we want to have a project that's completely separate from the Aca-Py.
Yeah.
Not that one. So it's not quite there. But so the idea is, you create this folder which is separate from the Aries Cloud Agent Python.
Yeah.
And you can set in your requirements, you can actually just install
the Cloud Agent into it
as a dependency, right, of this project.
Yeah.
And you have your protocol, and then the only difference with these protocols is you need to define a setup file, right? And a setup file is to register this new protocol with the Aries Cloud Agent.
Okay, fine. Is this to the ledger?
No. So you're telling this Cloud Agent, this set of code, which has its own protocols defined. Oh, I've got another protocol for you. This is where it is. Please include it when you start up. And to do that, so I haven't quite got this working out, which is why I'm not, this bit of the demo is maybe a little bit out. But the simple way to do that is, you go --plugin. Oh.
Yeah.
And then you'd put in like your Aries, whatever it is, like protocol example. And then that would, that looks to see, okay, can I include this protocol? Do I know where this protocol is and can I include it?
Yeah, cool. Okay, yeah, I got it. Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do now, although I don't know why this hasn't got any code.
Is to add it to the plugin, right?
I'm going to create a repo that's like separate.
Yeah. Okay, so I can probably finish the course within like